Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching. 800 micrograms LSD. When the ceiling became a symphony and the plants started gossiping, I was never one to mess around with high doses. But that night I figured, what the heck, let's jump into the deep end with 800 micrograms of LSD. My plan was simple. Chill at home, listen to music, maybe paint a little, and hopefully not embarrass myself in front of my cat. What I got instead was a full-blown surreal adventure that turned my living room into a psychedelic theater and left me wondering if my houseplants were the real masterminds behind the universe. About 30 minutes in, I noticed the ceiling above me was no longer just a ceiling. It started to ripple gently, like a calm ocean disturbed by the tiniest breeze. Then it burst into an elaborate symphony of colors and shapes that danced in rhythm with the music playing softly in the background. But this wasn't just a light show. It was a full-on orchestral performance. Each crack and crevice in the ceiling played a different instrument. A tap was a plucky harp, a water stain turned into a jazzy saxophone riff, and the ceiling fan morphed into a booming bass drum. As I lay there, mesmerized, the music began to take on a voice. It whispered jokes, told stories, and even started critiquing my life choices with a playful snark I wasn't prepared for. Really another bowl of cereal? Living on the edge, huh? It chuckled. I couldn't help but laugh, shaking my head at how absurdly hilarious the ceiling had become. Then things got weirder. The plants in my room, the spider plant, the succulent, and the monstera, started to lean toward me, their leaves rustling as if they were gossiping about me. The spider plant was the loudmouth, buzzing with excitement. Did you see how he tripped over the cat? Classic! The succulent was more reserved, but added with a smirk. At least he's finally watering me on time. The monstera, the oldest and wisest, gave a slow nod. He's come a long way, but the carpet could use a vacuum. Suddenly, the plants began to communicate not just among themselves, but with me. They shared ancient wisdom, wrapped in sarcastic quips. The spider plant taught me the importance of flexibility. Bend, don't break, buddy. The succulent talked about resilience. Even when dried out, I still thrive. The monstera gave me a riddle about growth and patience that I'm pretty sure was also a pun. Midway through this botanical TED talk, my cat's a whiskers transformed into a wise, slightly judgmental guru with glowing eyes. He perched himself on the armrest and began dispensing life advice in a deep, monotone voice. You must master the art of the nap, he declared. And always remember, curiosity may not have killed you, but it definitely gave you existential dread. I nodded seriously because, hey, he was the cat, so he probably knew best. As the trip progressed, my furniture started to dissolve into puddles of vibrant paint, only to reform as bizarre sculptures. My coffee table sprouted legs and began tap dancing. My armchair morphed into a regal throne made of melting clocks. Thank you, Salvador Dali. And my books levitated, rearranging themselves into a shape. Music remained the backbone of the experience, shifting genres like a mood ring. At one moment, it was classical and soothing. The next, it exploded into psychedelic rock anthems that had me air guitaring with the vigor of a rock star. The ceiling orchestra even invited me to join in, and I found myself conducting with wild, exaggerated gestures that made me laugh until tears streamed down my face. Throughout it all, time lost meaning. Minutes stretched into hours and then snapped back like a rubber band. I found myself pondering cosmic questions and simultaneously worrying about whether I'd remembered to lock the front door. The plants chimed in again. Chill. The universe has your back. And your Wi-Fi password. Near the peak, the ceiling shifted one last time, transforming into a giant smiling face that said, "You're exactly where you need to be." The face winked and dissolved into a cascade of glittering stars that rained down softly around me. I felt a deep connection to everything. The plants, the cat, the ceiling, even my questionable taste in cereal. When the trip finally subsided, I was left with a lingering sense of joy and absurdity. My living room looked exactly the same, but somehow everything felt more alive, more meaningful, and infinitely funnier. Sir Whiskers jumped into my lap, as if to say, "Welcome back, human. Ready for the next round of nonsense." That night, I learned that even the most mundane surroundings can turn into the wildest adventures if you're willing to see them through the right eyes, or maybe just through a very intense LSD trip. Either way, I wouldn't trade that ceiling symphony or those gossiping plants for anything.